Hey guys, welcome. So excited to have you on with me today. This is the Essential Oil Hacks for Homesteaders webinar. We're going to have a blast. This is one of my favorite topics. It's like two things I love, right? Essential oils and homesteading, and they go together and it's awesome. So this is going to be really fun. I want to let you know there will be a recording of this that will be emailed out to you automatically. So if something crazy happens during this class, like the cows get out or the kids start screaming or the UPS man shows up, because that always happens, like all three of those things, every time I'm trying to listen to a video, it always happens. You'll get a recording. You can come back and watch it all again and listen to it all again later. So don't worry if something happens in the middle of it. But it's fun to talk instead of type to you guys. I love to get a little different interaction. I'm used to typing away and writing blog posts and sharing information on social media. So it's fun to do this in a new format. So before we get started, I just want you to ask yourself for a minute. You can answer out loud if you want, but I can't hear you because we don't have audio for the attendees. But just ask yourself, have you ever felt the desire to detox some of your homesteading stuff, for lack of a better word? So your garden, your barnyard, if you have a barnyard, your animal stuff, maybe your kitchen, maybe your cleaning cabinet. But if you just wanted to get rid of some of the toxins, like there's so many different chemicals that are not great for us that lurk in so many different aspects of our lives. You know, honestly, I'm not sure if we can get rid of every single one, but I know I do the very best I can to get rid of a big chunk of them. And so I know that's something that I'm really passionate about. It's really important to me. And have any of you ever felt like that? I'm just curious. I'm assuming you have if you're here, but it's always kind of fun to hear from you. So you feel free to type in and let me know the answer to that. While you're doing that, let me introduce myself. I am Jill Winger. For those of you who don't know me, I am the blogger behind the Prairie Homestead. You probably are familiar with that if you are on this webinar, because probably how you found the webinar. But the Prairie Homestead is all about returning to your roots, getting back to a simpler, more wholesome way of life, and really just improving your quality of life in lots of different ways. And so essential oils go really well with that, and it's a great complement to each other. So in today's webinar, you are going to learn a couple of things. So first off, I'm going to share my story because I know I always appreciate it when I kind of can find out how someone else came to an idea or a conclusion, right? I like to hear about the journey. So I'm going to share a little bit of mine. I'm going to share my top recipes and tips for using oils to replace some of the junkier products on your homestead. So there's some things that I find myself buying at the feed store, or at least I used to. Like this is kind of a compromise item. I don't really love buying this. And so I figured out how to replace a lot of those with natural options. I'm going to tell you my recipes today. And then at the end, I'm going to teach you how I affordably get my oils, because I see a lot of folks getting stuck on this. You start shopping around for essential oils and you see the prices on some of them and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. And you go looking elsewhere. And that's honestly a mistake, because I'm going to show you how you can get these oils in your home for more cost-effective prices, and then also how you can really break it down to make them way more frugal than you ever thought, okay? So that'll be at the end, so don't miss out on that. So sound good? Awesome. Okay. So if you've ever been to one of my webinars before, you know I'm really about solid information. I don't like fluffy stuff, right? Where it's just like vague concepts. Drives me crazy. So this will be a content-heavy webinar. So I would suggest getting a notepad. You can also screenshot, if you have a cell phone with you, you can screenshot the recipes, but don't freak out if you feel like you didn't get to copy a recipe in its entirety, because I'm going to email the recipes themselves to you after this class. So it's going to come in an email and you can have it that way, so don't panic too much. Also, I kind of talk a little bit fast and I try to slow myself down in these things, but I can't help myself. I get excited and I talk fast. So you'll get the recording if you need to pause it or play at half speed or whatever, if I've been moving too fast through this class. So awesome. Sound good? Okay, let's get started. This is my family. I want you to know kind of where I come from, my part of the story here. I'm Jill Winger. I'm a wife, a mom of three, a homesteader, blogger. I love small business. I'm a business owner, and we live in the middle of nowhere in southeast Wyoming. So when I first started getting into homesteading, I was still very, very conventional and really skeptical about natural things. So homesteading was really what brought me into this idea of organic being awesome and natural being awesome, and really caring finally about getting the toxins out of my home. So if you would have known me 10 years ago, you would have not expected me to end up like I am today. I was very much apathetic about what I was eating, what I was putting in my body. I just didn't care. And I honestly hate to say this, but I thought that people who did organic stuff were kind of crazy. So yeah, I've come a long way. I grew up in a very conventional home, right? The standard American diet, lots of processed foods, lots of antibiotics when we got sick. Fun fact, my dad was actually a farm chemical salesman as I was growing up, right? He worked for a company that was associated in a roundabout way with Monsanto. And some of you are aware of Monsanto, and you probably have strong opinions about them, as do I. For those of you who don't know, Monsanto is a chemical company. It's very controversial. But anyway, my dad was associated with them in a roundabout way, and all of our coffee cups and baseball caps growing up were emblazoned with the names of various herbicides and seed treatments because he had them as gifts for his customers, right? And we get the extras. And so to this day, he still really loves his chemicals. And as you can imagine, that yields some interesting conversations at the holidays. We try not to get into it too much. But anyway, that's my background. Was not very natural, organic, or homesteady or anything. So I started hearing about essential oils about 5 years ago. So it was a little ways into my personal homesteading journey. And they weren't really mainstream then like they are now. So now I can pretty much say essential oil to anybody walking down the street, and they'll know a little bit about them. Oh, I like peppermint. Oh, cool. I use lavender in my candle thing or whatever. Like they kind of know what they are, but back then, really wasn't that long ago, right? 5 years ago, back then, back in the olden days, people didn't know at all what they were. And so people would be like, is that like coconut oil? What is that? I don't understand. It's like olive oil? And so you had to explain what it was. In fact, a lot of people, including myself, thought they were snake oil, right? Did you know snake oil was actually a thing back in the day? Like it was a total scam, but it was actually a thing that the traveling salesman would try to sell to people. Anyway, that's where we get that term snake oil. And I've heard that more than once in reference to essential oils. I might have even said it myself back at the beginning. But everything changed when a friend shared a bottle of oil with me. And I was kind of like, thanks, but no thanks, right? Like, okay, I'll try it. And I kind of ignored her or ignored the sample for a while, put it in my cupboard. And when I finally cracked open that bottle, I put some on my husband to help him with some airways, clear up his airways. And I, had a little bit on my hands that was residual, and holy moly, it worked. Like we both felt our airways open up. That's what we were using it for. And I thought, this is crazy. It must be a coincidence, right? And so I'm pretty skeptical, but after trying it, I'd say 5, 6, 7, 8 times, and I got cool results every single time. It was kind of hard to say it was a coincidence every time. So I really dove in, I invested in a kit, and I committed to say, hey, I'm going to learn how to use these things. And so I did. And if you fast forward to where I'm at today, those essential oils that I thought were snake oil, that I was kind of skeptical about, they're now my full-time profession. I don't know if that's the right word, career, passion, whatever you want to call it. It's what I do full-time in addition to blogging. And I've had the honor of teaching thousands of homesteaders and people like you who are on this webinar how to use essential oils. I even got to co-host the largest online essential oil education event to date back in 2015. It was the Essential Oil Revolution. It was record-breaking attendees. It was awesome. So it was kind of cool for the skeptic to turn into that, right? And the stories, you guys. The stories are why I do what I do. This is a very, very small portion of our essential oil team. This is the process of one person or me sharing with someone and them sharing with someone else, but all these people are a part of our team. It's actually much, much, much larger than this, but this was just a portion of us that were able to get together last September at our convention. And these people are the reason I do what I do, because they have stories that would knock your socks off of how the oils have helped them and their families in so many ways, which is why they're here in this picture, because they're committed to the oils. And that is why I am here 5 years later, still talking about oils, still using oils, and still really committed to getting oils into the homes and the homesteads of as many people as I can, because I want to add more people to this group and hear more of these stories, okay? So that's a little bit about my story in relation to essential oils in general. But what about the homesteading? So I've actually, believe it or not, received some criticism in the past for talking about essential oils on a homesteading blog. I'll have people say, this is stupid, it has nothing to do with homesteading, or why don't you write about something else? To which I usually say, I do. I write like tons of other topics, but that's beside the point. But honestly, I want to say, are you serious? Like, how can you think that essential oils and homesteading don't go together? I think that's crazy. And let me tell you why. Okay, this is why essential oils and homesteading go together like peanut butter and jelly. So number one, essential oils come straight from the plant. And I don't know about you, but most homesteaders I know are really into plants and natural stuff and things that grow from the earth. So here you have an option that you can use medicinally and for cleaning and for all sorts of applications that comes from a plant that comes from the earth. That's pretty homesteady if you ask me. Number two, they're frugal. Yes, they are. So let me break this down to you. If you look at them price per drop, it's amazing. So for example, let's talk about peppermint. You're going to hear me reference peppermint a couple different times during this class. It's a very versatile oil, and I pay $20 wholesale price. I'm going to tell you how to get wholesale price later, but hold on. Don't worry about that right now. I can get a bottle of peppermint, 15 milliliters, for $20 wholesale, okay? In a bottle of 15 milliliter oil, there's 250 drops approximately. If you break that down, peppermint costs 8 cents per drop. Do you know how much peppermint I use when I need some to help with respiratory, or I need some for a tummy upset? I use 1 to 2 drops. So you're looking at 8 to 16 cents per drop. I'm going to venture to say that most over-the-counter remedies you're going to get are not that frugal per dose. Not to mention, I can use peppermint for cooking, for cleaning, for fly sprays, for garden remedies, to replace candles to make my house smell good, and so on and so on and so on. So when people tell me, oh, essential oils are expensive, I'm like, you aren't breaking it down and thinking about it in the big picture, because they're actually extremely frugal. Number three, oils have a ton of uses. I just kind of highlighted that in my previous point, but I don't know a bottle of anything that you can use for cooking, cleaning, in your medicine cabinet, for your animals, for your garden. And as a homesteader, I love things that are kind of like the utility tools, right? The thing that has many, many different uses, and essential oils are exactly that. And lastly, they work for the whole family and the farm and the garden. So that's kind of my point number three, reiterated, right? But it's for every aspect of homesteading. I have them in my chore coat when I go out to the barn. I have bottles of sprays hanging in my garden fence. They're all over my house. They are truly have seeped into every single part of my homestead. Alrighty, so for those of you who are brand new to this whole essential oil concept, I want to just give you the crash course on what essential oils are. And some of you already know this, so bear with me, but I want to make sure we're all on the same page. So, in case you've never heard of an essential oil before, here's the official definition, okay? Essential oils are natural aromatic compounds found in the seeds, flowers, bark, rind, and leaves of plants. And then we get them out of the plants by either steam, distillation, or cold pressing, right? Depends on the plant, but those are the two methods, and that's how we get them out of the plant. Essential oils have various constituents, like the chemical composition of them vary, and are found in various levels, and those constituents are what have the powerful effects both on the human body as well as animals, pests, plants, and so on, okay? So That's the really fancy scientific definition. If you want the Jill version, it's essential oils are parts of plants that we smash out with steam distillation and then we use them for all kinds of cool stuff. Okay, that's what an essential oil is. But a good, real essential oil is just the plant in a bottle, right? It's not cut with chemicals or with diluted unless the bottle states explicitly that it is diluted. It should be just essential oils in a bottle, nothing else, and that's really key. We don't want to get into oils that have other stuff added. That's missing the point, right? These are just plant matter in a bottle. So sometimes people say, well, these are just a fad. They're just a passing fad, and they're going to go away soon. And I'm like, really, they're not a fad if you look back at history. So essential oils in the form we have them today, the steam distilled version. Now that exact technology wasn't around thousands and thousands of years ago, right? They didn't have that available to them. But people, as we know, have been using plants in various forms to boost their health and help them in all sorts of things for millennia. Okay, this has been going on forever. Egyptians, we know they use plant extracts. We know about frankincense and myrrh given to baby Jesus in the Bible. Hippocrates used plants with his patients. And so this is not a new concept. But what happened in 2008 was doTERRA came on the scene, and really kind of their goal was to bring the essential oils back into mainstream, or not really back into mainstream, bring them into mainstream for the first time, because we had people for thousands of years using plants for medicine, and then in the 40s and 50s and 60s we had this industrialization, and we got to where we're like, we don't want to use natural herbal stuff. We want to go with our brand new pharmaceuticals that we're developing. Aren't they cool? And so we got away from that. And since then, during that period, people were using essential oils in little amounts, but it was mostly, the people we would think of as being like the hippies. People are always like, oh, the oils are hippie. Well, not really. But, we had yoga folks using them and aromatherapists using them. And so they weren't really mainstream. And doTERRA brought them back into the mainstream consciousness, and really we can credit them for making them available to normal people like me who wouldn't have known about them prior. Okay, so before we go any further, I know there's a little bit of an elephant in the room for some of you, and I want to address it right now, right? So I'm sure you should know, there are many companies as far as essential oils go. There's lots to choose from, and I know some of you are wondering why I chose doTERRA, why I've stuck with them for the last 5 years, and let me tell you briefly, okay? The company you go with is very important. Now, sometimes people say, well, I can get oils anywhere, and I'm going to tell you they're not all created equal. So number one, doTERRA is committed to sourcing the very best essential oils in the world, direct from the grower, okay? Sourcing is so key. I can't underscore that enough. There are many, many, many companies out there who are just purchasing oils from random bulk suppliers. Then they bottle them with their label and off they go. They aren't doing the homework, and they don't have the scientific data behind them to know what's really in those oils, because lavender oil is not the same. All lavender oil is not the same. So you can have lavender oil grown in the Western United States. It's going to differ greatly from lavender oil grown in the Mediterranean climate, right? It's not the same. They have different chemical constituents. They behave differently. They're going to give you different results when you're using them. So, and oils are not all created equal, even if the bottle both say lavender, right? These pictures are kind of important to me because they are some trips I've been on with doTERRA. Been very privileged to go see some of the growing practices. So speaking of lavender, this picture up in the corner was my husband in Bulgaria. We were blessed to be able to go there last year, and we got to see the lavender growing process. We got to visit the fields, which were amazing, and see how doTERRA is working with the farmers in that area. They want the places that we're getting the oils to be family-run farms, right? And put the power into the hands of the people. And we're paying those farmers a fair wage. And then doTERRA even created a distillery there to make sure that these are being processed accurately and that the farmers are getting paid what they need to be paid for their work. So for those of you who are familiar, is anyone familiar with fair trade coffee, right? That concept of there's places in the world where farmers are not getting paid fairly for what they're doing, right? The middlemen come in and kind of scoop up the profits. That actually happens a lot in the essential oil industry. And doTERRA's recognized that, and because of that, they've created something called co-impact sourcing. And that's just what I described. They go into impoverished areas. Bulgaria in particular, where we were, was very poor, very depressed area. And they are working with the farmers, paying them what they need to be paid to feed their families, to support themselves, and to make a good profit. And then working with them to grow the very best oils in the process. So when someone comes to me and says, well, my oil that I got at Walmart's the same as yours, I'm like, no, it's not. It's really not. I mean, not trying to start an argument, but it's not the same. It wasn't grown the same. It wasn't harvested the same. And my oil has a story. I'll just point out this picture over here is in a Melissa or a lemon balm field. That's a very precious and rare oil. And turns out Bulgaria has an amazing climate and soil for growing that very precious plant. And the Melissa oil, we call it Melissa oil, it's also known as lemon balm, but it has some very powerful chemical and medicinal properties in there. So that was so amazing to be able to visit those fields. And also, once we get all this amazing growing and harvesting done, each batch of oil undergoes seven different testing procedures by doTERRA and third-party laboratories. So the oils you're getting surpass USDA organic standards. And for those of you who've ever compared doTERRA oils to another brand, like I challenge you, if you have both, smell them side by side, you can smell the difference right off the bat. Okay, so let's get into how to use these amazing oils. Now, you know why I chose the company I'm with, and I promise you that's the only one I'll ever be with. I'm very, very loyal to them. I've been with them for a while, and I've seen the company inside and out. I know the owners inside and out, and they are just good people with an amazing mission, and I'm really proud to be a part of that. So let me tell you how to use these amazing oils around your homestead. Okay, so let's talk about essential oils in the garden first. So this topic, people can get a little overwhelmed because there's so many options. So what I'm going to tell you right now is don't get hung up too much on exactly what oil you need in the garden. Just know that many, many oils repel pests in the garden, and you can kind of play around with your plants and your climate and the bugs that you're dealing with and go from there. So this is the list of oils that I have used over time in various different mixtures to make plant sprays for my garden. If I had to pick the most effective ones in here, I would say peppermint, clove. I probably should put those in a grouping, but peppermint, clove, rosemary, and basil. Like those are going to be the ones I probably reach for first because I've seen most bugs kind of not like those guys. Those are really, really powerful. But you can mix it up a little bit because all of these have bug repelling properties. And you think about it like cedar wood, they made cedar chests, right? You make cedar chests to repel moths, and cedar wood oil repels insects as well. If you plant herbs like rosemary or basil within your other vegetables, that can help repel some insects. So it just is common sense, right? But these oils are amazing in the garden. So how I use them in the garden, there's a couple different things you can do. One trick is to take a cotton ball and put, let's say, 5 to 6 drops of an oil on the cotton ball, and then place that cotton ball strategically in areas where you're getting plants that are attacked by bugs. Now, if you have a huge garden, that's not going to be super practical, right? But if you have small areas that are just really being infested, that's a great tip, is some cotton balls. You can also make a spray. So I love a simple spray. I grab a quart-sized spray bottle. I add 2 cups of water and let's say 3 cups of water and a cup of apple cider vinegar. And then I might add 20 drops of the essential oil of choice, like peppermint or rosemary or maybe both. and then a squirt of dishwashing liquid soap. And the reason I add the soap is it just keeps the oil mixed into the water, and then it helps it to stick to the leaves. And I'll just go to areas in my garden that are being bothered by bugs, and I will spray them down. I don't douse my entire garden because that can also repel beneficial insects. But if I have something like cabbage or potatoes that are being eaten by bugs, I will definitely target those plants and keep them going with that spray. And you're going to have to reapply it, I'd say, every other day, or if you're getting a rain, definitely apply it after a rain. So it's not going to stick on there forever, right? That's the one thing you'll find if you're used to using a lot of normal pesticides or herbicides or things. Sometimes natural remedies don't last as long. That's just the nature of them. But it doesn't bother me because I don't have to have chemicals on the food I'm eating, right? So it doesn't bother me a bit. Okay, so speaking of pesky insects, let's talk about what we can do to repel them off our animals. So I remember kind of at the beginning of my journey, I was out milking our cow one day, and it was the height of summer, and so she was covered in those really annoying flies. And I remember grabbing my chemical fly spray from the feed store and dousing her with it, and then watching the mist float down into my bucket of fresh milk that I was going to give to my kids the next day. And I'm like, this is not going to fly. We're not doing this. And that's when I got really obsessed with how I can keep the flies off my poor cow and my poor horses without covering her in chemicals that I don't want in my mouth or my kid's mouth or really on my homestead. So this is a recipe I've used a ton. It works well. Again, you can switch up the essential oils in it. You don't have to use these exact ones, but these are the ones I usually reach for first. So you're going to want to grab 4 cups of raw apple cider vinegar. You can use the non-raw stuff. I just think the raw just has a little extra punch to it because it's alive, right? And 20 drops of lavender, 20 drops of melaleuca, aka tea tree oil, same thing, 20 drops of peppermint, and then 2 tablespoons of a liquid oil. You don't want to use coconut oil because it's solid, right? It's going to be chunky and make a mess. So use olive oil, canola oil, mineral oil. You're not going to eat it. So you don't need to go super fancy. This is just going to help disperse it. And then a tablespoon of liquid dish soap. And that's just going to keep everything mixed together. And so you're going to put it in a quart-sized spray bottle, give it a quick shake, and then spray it all over your horse, cow. I've done it on goats. You could do it on dogs, pretty much everything. Again, this isn't going to last quite as long as the commercial fly sprays, especially if it's raining there or your animal's sweating. You're going to need to reapply it. But, honestly, I always had to reapply the chemical feed store stuff too. So I don't mind. And this works. I will really coat my horses down and my cows in the summer, and it definitely keeps the flies off, and I don't worry about the icky toxic stuff floating around in the air. Speaking of cows, udder balm. I love this recipe. This is the only recipe I've ever used for my cow's udder, and it's awesome. So I'm not going to read through this entire recipe in this webinar because we're going to run out of time if I do. But you can take a screenshot of this, and also I'm going to email you this recipe, but I just wanted to talk you through a little bit of the concepts. So this is basically a hand cream, and I used lavender and melaleuca, aka tea tree oil, in it. And so I use this, if you've ever milked a cow or a goat, and you can use this on goats too, I forgot to say that. Their udders will get cracked sometimes or chapped in the winter or the summer, or sometimes their calf will cut their udder a little bit with her teeth and they could just get ouchy. So just to soothe the udder and bring moisture back to the skin, I love this udder balm. It's basically a shea butter and coconut oil base. I do use calendula infused oil, which I'm going to send you the ingredients for that, or not the ingredients, excuse me, the instructions, but you don't have to do that. You could just use plain olive oil, okay, if you're in a hurry. And then add a little bit of essential oil and let it set up in a container, then scoop it out and just massage it into the cow or goat's udder, or you can even use it for your own hands if you want. And it's amazing. It works really well. The one tip that I would say, if it's cold where you live, keep this in the house because it gets really, really hard in a cold barn. But other than that, it's magical, magical stuff. Okay, so what about those days when you have been working so hard out in the garden? Ooh, you know what? I didn't show you did you see my raised beds? I know some of you have seen this, but those are pictures of my raised beds. And it got me thinking when I said long days in the garden because I'm going to be having some long days filling up these babies. But anyway, back on track, Jill. Okay, after sun spray. So if you've been out in the garden, working hard or out cleaning pins on a Saturday and it's hot and you come in at night and you're crispy. Have you ever done that? I sure have. And it's just not a good feeling to be crispy. And it's a little bit uncomfortable when you're trying to sleep or relax and it just makes you feel icky. So this is my favorite after sun crispy spray. Done this, use it a ton. Like kids, husband, friends, family, all love this recipe. So I will mix a half a cup witch hazel or water. It doesn't matter, either one. Usually I do water because I'm always out of witch hazel for some reason. And then I add 2 tablespoons of pure aloe vera gel because it's a soothing gel. Drawing a blank. Soothing component as well, right? Aloe vera is amazing. And it also helps the essential oils to mix into the water. And then I add 10 drops of lavender, which is very soothing for skin. And I add 10 drops of peppermint, which is cooling. And that feels so good. When your skin's just hot, you just want to take some of the heat out of it. The peppermint works wonders. So I mix them all together, shake them up, and put them in a spritzer like this. And I'll reapply every half hour or so. If we're really crispy, I'll keep applying. So don't do it just once and stop. In fact, that's something to remember with a lot of essential oil things. Don't just do it one time and then stop. You got to kind of keep doing it. Especially if it's something where you're really crispy or, you got something that came on fast and aggressively, you got to hit it aggressively with the oils. But this stuff is amazing. It is a lifesaver. So we talked about crispiness. What about when you've been working in the garden all day or you've been working with your cow all day or pounding fence posts in and you are just tired. Your muscles are tired. Your joints are tired and achy. You maybe pulled a muscle. You're getting all stiff, right? This stuff is our favorite. My husband loves this. It's called Deep Blue. It is a muscle and joint blend. And it comes in this tube of lotion, basically. It's the oil suspended in the lotion. Or you can just get it in this bottles, which is just the blend. Has things like wintergreen, peppermint, blue tansy, helichrysum. It's very powerful, and it's that cooling, kind of that icy heat type of sensation. But I know we have so many people on our team who are athletes or are just hardworking folks, really gritty, salt of the earth type people, and this is their favorite for muscles and joints. So I had to throw that in there. It's not a recipe, but a homesteader, if you're going to do oils, you need this blend in your homestead oil kit. Okay, and then I think this is my last recipe. Make sure we're good on time. Okay. This is hardworking hand cream. I've also called this gardener's hand cream, but this little gem of a recipe has gotten so much positive feedback on the blog, I had to include it. So this is for the days when you've been out in the garden or you've been working outside in the dirt and your skin feels really dry. I am not super good at wearing gloves, and so I usually don't wear gloves, and then I come in that night and I'm cracked, and it just feels gross. I'm sure you guys have been there. Or you get the cracks around your fingernails, and it really, really hurts. I hate those. So this is what I mix up for that. It's thick, but I don't think it's greasy. Everyone has a different opinion of what greasy is. I don't think this is greasy because once you work it into your hands, it doesn't stay there for 5 hours, right? It absorbs in really well. So you start with shea butter and almond oil, and then you melt those with the beeswax in a small saucepan, just over low heat, right? Stir it carefully. And then once it's melted, you just barely melted, take it off the heat and let it cool. And the reason we let it cool is because if you add essential oils to a very hot mixture, they can flash off and they'll kind of disappear, right? And they lose some of their efficacy. So we want to let it cool for just a minute. Don't let it set up, but just let it cool off, let's say 5 minutes. Then stir in the essential oils. And I chose myrrh and cedarwood for this recipe, which some people are surprised at that, but let me tell you, myrrh and cedarwood are amazing for skin. They're very, very soothing and supportive to the structure of your skin. And myrrh is what we call our liquid Band-Aid on the homestead. Um, we will often use that in the place of a Band-Aid for small little cuts and things, and it works wonders. It's a very thick resin type of oil. So you add the essential oils in, stir it up, pour it into a little container and allow it to cool, and then it turns into that creamy consistency, and then you can apply it to your hands or your feet or any other part of your body that has been taking a beating from working out on the homestead. So that's just a few of my favorite recipes, guys. There's so many others. In fact, there is a post on the blog called 30 Ways I Use Essential Oils in the Homestead. I'll send you the link for that, but you can really see how else I put them to use. I use them in the chicken coop to help it smell better. Use it in the garden, of course, cooking, cleaning. I use it on animals that gets little cuts and nicks and scrapes and things. Use it for dogs and cats, and cats sparingly. So that brings up a good point. I know I'm going to get some questions about cats and essential oils. So let me tell you my little spiel on that before we wrap up. There's a lot of controversy about cats and oils. And let me tell you, if you're nervous about your cats and oils, just don't use the oils on the cats, right? You just skip that part. Now, the reason there is some concern is that because cats metabolize some substances different than other animals or humans do. And so it's not just oils, but they can kind of run into problems with other things as well. So I generally don't use a lot of oils on cats. I just kind of avoid it. I have talked to vets, though, who do use oils on cats. I talked to vets that will put a little bit of oil in a litter box. I know that's controversial. That's up to you to do your own research if you are concerned about that. I would say, please don't go drop 10 drops of oil on a cat. That's a bad idea. Do not do that. But I have heard of applications where oils are appropriate for cats in very, very, very small quantities. Again, that's up to you to figure out, what you're trying to accomplish with your oils and your cats and what type of oils you need and which ones you need to stay away from, because I don't have a whole presentation on that, to be honest. I will say I have had cats in the house, and I have diffused oils, like in a cold air diffuser. You'll see those all the time with cats in my house, and I've never, ever had a problem. I get that question a ton, so I wanted to be upfront. I know vets that diffuse with cats in the house. I know many people on our team who diffuse with cats in the house. It's not a problem because the oil that comes out of a diffuser is so, so diluted. Would I lock a cat in a tiny closet with a running diffuser? No, I wouldn't do that. I don't think it would necessarily cause massive harm to the cat, but it's better to be safe than sorry. Don't lock your cat in a closet with a diffuser in case you were thinking of doing that. Not that you were, but you know what I mean, right? But dogs do well with oils. Cats are just a little iffy, but do your research. And there is, again, you'll see some people online say, oh my gosh, no oils on cats ever. And you'll see other people who are like, I use them in small quantities. It saved my cat's life, blah, blah, blah. So you get to decide on that. I'm not going to tell you one way or the other. I'm not a huge cat person to begin with. I mean, I have cats. I'm just not like super into cats. They live in the barn. So, it's not something I have a ton of experience with. Alrighty. There was my cat sermon. Okay, so I won't leave this on because this is a little annoying, but here's the deal, guys. I have a reason for this pendulum, I promise. I'm a big fan of balance, and I'm not against modern medicine or modern remedies, and I want to be really upfront with that because I love to talk about natural stuff, but I don't want people to think that that I don't ever look to other alternatives. And that's why I have the pendulum, because I think the pendulum swings, and I think the answer is somewhat in the middle. So on one side of the pendulum, which I'm going to stop because it's super annoying. Okay. On one side of the pendulum, we've had some instances on our homestead and in our family where we really were thankful for modern medicine and modern options. Several years ago, my daughter had mastoiditis in her ear, and that's a bone infection. And without the IV antibiotics and the intervention she had at the hospital, she would have died. And I was so thankful to have the antibiotics and those options in front of us, because if that had been 100 years ago, she wouldn't be with us today. So I'm so thankful for those options, and I'm not against modern medicine. I love working with nurses and physicians on our team, and I think it's a beautiful thing when we can balance the oils and Western medicine together. But I've also seen the other side of the pendulum, right? And my grandpa is a really good example of that. He grew up in the Great Depression, and as he grew up, he watched many medical advancements come into our culture, right? So as a result, he thought it was awesome. All of it was awesome. So he looked to medication for everything he needed. If it was at the store or at the doctor's office, he wanted it. Like, it was cool. It was awesome. And it completely broke down his body. And the last 15 years of his life, his quality of life was horrible. And it wasn't because he had cancer or he had some, disease. It was because of a series of medical interventions that were unnecessary and medications that he reacted to that caused him to completely deteriorate and just be an invalid for basically no other reason than improper interventions at different points in his life. So I've seen both side of it. And here's where I am. I like the middle and I like options. So I'm not refusing to ever buy anything at the feed store again, but I like knowing there's other options available to me and I have choices. So I see a lot of people who are stuck on this pendulum swinging back and forth. They either go all the way to modern medicine and think they have to stick all the way over there, or they're only ever buying farm store chemicals and rounduping their garden, at the end of the year to get rid of the weeds. And they don't have the options or solutions or knowledge of anything else. And then I also see people when they finally start getting into natural solutions, like maybe you've been Googling essential oils and that's how you found me, or something like that, you get super overwhelmed because there's so much out there. You don't know, what do I start with? Which company do I start with? What kit do I start with? Do I even want a kit? Which oils do I need? And so on. And then when that happens, when there's that confusion and overwhelm, people just stay in the same spot. And they keep rounduping their garden and they keep going to the doctor whenever they need anything, or they just don't do anything at all because they don't know what to do, what path to take. And so that's not what I want for you, because I know how much clarity these oils have brought into my life, and I am so passionate about getting them into the hands of others. So are essential oils a miracle solution? No, they're not. Okay? They don't end world hunger and they don't bring world peace, right? But they've created empowerment for me more than anything else I've tried. And I've tried a lot of things. I'm a little bit of an experimenter, okay? But this has been the ticket for so many areas of my life. I want you to have these same options that I have in my barn, that I have in my home, that I have in my kitchen. And I know for the other people I've helped get started in their own personal journey with oils, it's made all the difference for them as well. So I'm going to ask for your permission in just a few more minutes to share with you how you can get these oils into your home in a way that doesn't break the bank and that is not overwhelming to you. Does that sound good? Okay, awesome. Okay, so the question comes up all the time. How do I get good oils, right? I get that email to me, I get people calling me, I get people Facebook messaging me. How do I get good oils? I don't know where to start. And I'll be honest, Walmart does have oils, right? And so does your local health food store. They have a brand where you can probably get something for $5 a bottle. And I'm going to be really bold and honest with you right now and say that those are not what they say they are. I have seen the lab tests for Walmart oils and many of those other generic brands. And often the lavender that says 100% pure lavender oil in the bottle is not one iota of lavender. And the peppermint is not one iota of peppermint. There are no regulatory agencies in the US that govern and say you have to be truthful in your essential oil labeling. And so companies can literally get away with whatever they want. And so I have people going to Walmart and buying the $5 bottle of peppermint, and they try to use it for something and they come back and say, Jill, it didn't work. These essential oils are snake oil. And it makes me sad because they missed the point. Okay, if you're using a high quality oil that is what it says it is, the results are going to be there 9 out of 10 times, but you're not going to be able to get those same results in a bottle of fake synthetic essential oil. So that does make a difference what brand you are buying, I promise you. I trust doTERRA and I continue to trust doTERRA because I've seen their fields, I've been to their fields, I've been to their distilleries, I know the owners, and I've seen the results that these oils have brought me and hundreds of thousands of the people on my team. And if you're looking to get oils on your homestead for the best prices with the least amount of overwhelm, I'd love to share with you what I recommend. Okay, so there's two options. You can start with a retail account or a wholesale account. Now, I never recommend retail. Let me tell you why. So sometimes people hear wholesale and they're like, I don't want to do a bunch of ordering. I don't want to order thousands of dollars a month. I don't want to have a store with oils. I just need it for me. But if that is you, wholesale is your very best option. And most everyone I work with starts there. The thing I like about the wholesale membership is you do not have to have a store, and you do not have to buy bulk, and you do not even have to buy every month in order to get the discount. It's just like a Costco or a Sam's Club membership. You do not have to sell the oils. You do not have to order constantly. You order when you want, and you just get the discount automatically applied to your account. You don't even have to use a coupon code, right? Super easy. Now, side note, there are perks if you want to order monthly, right? You don't have to order monthly, but if you want to gradually build your collection like I have, there are perks to ordering some each month. We'll talk about that at a later time, but I want you to know that is an option. Wholesale saves you 25% over retail pricing, and usually that savings pay for the cost of the $35 membership fee with your very first order. Now, there's two options as far as getting started with wholesale. Like I said, you can either pay the $35 wholesale membership fee, and then you can add on whatever oils you want to that or initial order, or what I more commonly recommend is starting with a pre-made kit that actually includes that member fee and includes 10 of the most common oils. So you're going to see a lot of the oils we talked about today. I am specifically recommending this kit for you because it has the baseline oils that you're going to be able to use for homestead, garden, medicine cabinet, cooking, cleaning cabinet, all in one kit, okay? This is where the eliminating overwhelm comes in. If you go look at the big list of all the oils we offer, you can do that, but a lot of people get stuck. And that's why this kit is a good option. You can get the oils in your home, start experimenting with them, and have what you need to really get off with a bang here, get started, and not have to spend 3 hours analyzing the big list of everything that's offered, okay? This is the kit I'm referring to. It includes frankincense. That's one that you can use in your hand lotions, your fly sprays, medicine cabinets. Lavender, we talked about that today. Peppermint. Lemon is an amazing deodorizer. I also use it a lot in cooking because I don't have fresh lemons a lot here in Wyoming. Oregano is a powerful immune booster. So if one of us is under the weather, I whip out the oregano. Melaleuca is a cleanser. It's also known as tea tree. You can use it to clean your barn and your coop. You can use it to clean your house. You can add it to fly sprays and plant sprays. You're also going to get some of the doTERRA blends, the digestive blend, which is the tummy upset blend. It has a lot of the things you're going to see in herbal teas that you might have in your cupboard, but it's like way more potent. Immunity blend, this is great when you're under the weather, or your kids are under the weather, or your spouse is under the weather, and you are tired of being under the weather. There's the respiratory blend that opens up airways. There's the muscle and joint blend for when you are done with a big long project on the homestead and your muscles and joints are achy and tired. And then it comes with a diffuser. We didn't get to talk about that in the class today, but the diffuser is something you're going to want to have in your home. It's replaced all of my candles. I don't have candles anymore. I use diffusers, and it gets rid of odors from pets, odors from stinky mud boots, because we have a lot of those. Odors when the fireplace, the chimney, the smoke comes the wrong way down the chimney because the wind's blowing too hard and smokes out the house. I'll pump some lemon and tea tree oil into the diffuser, and it helps clear out the house. So the diffuser is a must-have for a hardworking farmhouse or an urban farmhouse. And then it also includes the wholesale membership I mentioned that enables you to get your own account, and you can order anytime you want for 25% off. You don't have to order necessarily through me or use a coupon code or anything. You're good to go. Now, with that membership, you're going to be automatically paired up with me and these lovely people who are a part of my team. So you're going to be added into our special groups, our special giveaways and incentives, and get to participate with us there. You're going to get a 30-minute phone call consult. Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. With one of the very knowledgeable folks on our team, and they're going to help you get off to a good start as far as using your oils. So if you get your kit and you're going, I don't know what to do with this thing, they're going to help you. We also have a program called Oil Camp that we run once a month on Facebook. It's free to join. It takes about 10 minutes a day, and it's getting rave reviews from our team members, and it's giving them the tools they need to take that kit you saw and put it to use all over their homes and their homesteads. Okay? You get a little welcome pack from me in the mail. And then, this is what I really want to tell you about before we're done. This is exclusive to May, but during the month of May, doTERRA is giving anyone who signs up with a kit, you have to start with your very first kit, your wholesale enrollment order, you get $50 in free oils of your choice. Okay, so this comes from doTERRA. This is an amazing offer. Okay, they don't hardly ever do things like this. So you go ahead and you place your order, and then a week after your order goes through, you're going to see 50 points or $50, like a $50 gift certificate in your account, and you can use that for any oils you like. So if you heard of an oil today that I mentioned that wasn't in the kit that I just listed to you, you can use your $50 gift certificate to redeem it for that oil. This is only applicable till May 31st, 2017. So you're going to have to jump on board quickly to take advantage of this. They do not offer this all the time. This is the first time I've seen them offer this particular promotion, and it's going to be May, and it probably won't happen again for the rest of the year. But I love it because you get to pick your freebie, right? And you can tailor that to what you're most interested in. All ready to get started. We're about out of time, but just make sure you go to the prairiehomestead.com/go/oil. That's going to get you to the page you need. That's going to give you a little more information on the kit if you want to go over that again and how the wholesale membership works and the details of it. And you're also going to get those emails from me. So watch for those. It's going to have links and the recipes. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. This was so fun. I love this topic, and I hope you are feeling inspired to get out there and figure out how to put these oils, these amazing little brown bottles, to work around your homestead and detox and just empower yourself to get some natural solutions to you, your garden, and your barnyard. So thank you again for hanging out with me, and I hope to see you around the blog soon.